Game 1, Part 4. We're remaking the video after recording the first one. The sound didn't work. So here we are. This is where I left off on Part 3. We're thinking now about continuing the attack on the king. We considered how this might work. It looks very good, but it doesn't feel like it amounts to much. We considered sacking the knight to open up the king even more, but this, we can't put the queen here. It's protected by the white queen and the knight. We can't get a checkmate here. This is very difficult. It feels like there's maybe some other sequence of moves where I could have done better, but I'm not entirely sure. We didn't play that. We were considering even not playing this move with the queen. Just simply trying to get some other things like fight for the pawn, get this queen point, this bishop into place somehow. I've just wanted to castle, but this bishop is pain, and we could try and sack that. It's a very awkward way to sack because we end up forcing ourselves to move the rook, and then we can never castle alongside. It's very annoying. There's things about pushing this pawn up was an idea still. As a way to get rid of this bishop, where you do pawn to c4. You can, I would expect en passant, takes with the bishop, takes back with the knight, takes the bishop. And now we're free to castle. In fact, actually, that might have been a line. Apart from, well, you'd have to move this knight now. Somewhere. Back. Well, I could even go here. And then trying to, at some point, oops. We wouldn't do it this way because he would take the queen. But we could have the castle pointing this way. It just, this is very open. We could even think about castling that side after that sequence of plays. I'm not sure if that was the line to go down. Maybe it was. Anyway, this was the position we left the video off. What we decided to do is to check. I figured at least if we move the king to the only available space, which is h3, we're forcing the king to be in a less safe position than if we just left it alone. So now if we would, that was the thing I was worrying about. All this kind of thing is, he is essentially like he would be castled. We could just move the castle here, the rook here, and then if he's safe behind the pawns, at least we moved him. We had this idea then of the attack by pushing the pawns up. This is a very aggressive play. We just didn't even start thinking about this pawn maneuver to get rid of the light square bishop. Predictably, he puts the rook on the f column. Good move. And then we had to put the queen here. This is a safe square for now, but it's, you know, not the best place to have it. There's a lot of potential threats in this area at the moment. The idea behind the queen going here as well, is that like the only place we could have put the queen? I think it is. Oh, we could have taken the pawn here. Taking the pawn here just feels like we win the pawn, but do nothing else. You know? And it feels like eventually we might get trapped. Or we just have the queen away from the king too much. And keeping the queen on this third rank is attacking this pawn. If we start pushing the pawn up the H column, we can then have a discovered check potentially, or just applying pressure. Anyway, he positions the queen here. Now we are basically forced to trade. I could have brought the queen to this square and kind of continued the attack. We can never go on the light square, which is annoying, and we can't go on this dark square. But this doesn't feel like it does anything. I mean, maybe there was plays. No, we can't even sack the knight because there's pawn and the rook. And I feel like this is just not the way to do it. He's still got his queen that can help guard this. We're just losing the pawn and losing the knight potentially by playing all this. So, okay, sack the queen. Takes back, obviously, with the knight. And then we decided, okay, this is just going into more of an endgame thing. Maybe I could have done this attack on the pawn. We don't really move his bishop now because we have no queen attacking that. So I figure, okay, we're going to attack the pawn here. He might try and attack this pawn. I would say he'd want to attack it with the knight and not the rook. Maybe we want the rook, actually. He's pointing at the king. But we had this kind of thing in mind as well. But it actually doesn't mean anything because by the time, you know, we get our own knight out the way, he can actually just save his pieces anyway. So we take with the pawn. We expect him to do something like this. Because even if you put the rook on this square, his own knight is in the way at the moment. What else could he have done with that? He could just not take the pawn at all and start pushing it forward. Yeah, I think this is kind of the worry. Because he could take that and then he's attacking the rook as well here. And if that was the case, you'd do the bishop maybe here. As we're looking to take this pawn. Here. We're looking to take this pawn. We expect him to do this. We move that pawn up. And then if he further attacked this pawn, we can protect it while taking his pawn. I guess that's the idea. And then we both have a pawn isolated in the middle. Potentially this is harder to protect, but it's closer up to the end of the board. No, it's not closer. It is closer. It's closer by one square. Not the way I wanted things to go. Looking back, here was the mistake. Here was the mistake. We should have allowed the queen to be taken. So there's this sequence. We did see it and we just decided we didn't like it. But if we, for example, played something here, takes, this is a royal fork. So he has to move the king. We take back the queen. He takes back the knight. But we're actually up by 2 points of material if we were to do that. But it doesn't look like we are. I'm not sure how. Because he's only got one rook. Yeah, we got 2 rooks, 2 bishops. He's got 2 knights, 1 bishop, 1 rook. Yeah. Yeah, so he's essentially got a minor piece more. A minor piece instead of a rook. So that should have been the play. It's not the best advantage, but that would have been an advantage rather than what we're doing at the moment, which just feels very even, if not advantaged for white.